If you're a man over 60 and you've been waking up tired, if you lose your energy before noon, if your motivation feels like a ghost of who you used to be, and even your performance behind closed doors has started to fade, then listen closely. Because there's something no one's been telling you. This isn't just aging. This isn't just what happens to men after 60. This is something else. Something most doctors never bring up. Something that, once you understand it, can flip the switch from feeling drained and disconnected, to waking up strong, alert, and grounded in your masculinity again. And no, it's not a pill. It's not hormone shots. And it's not some fancy gadget you plug in at night. It's about the fuel you've been giving your body, and more importantly, what's been missing from your plate for years. I'm Dr. James. I've spent the last 30 years sitting across from men just like you. Proud men. Strong men. Men who built careers, raised families, led with grit, but now quietly ask the same thing. Why don't I feel like myself anymore? It's not an easy question to ask. Because deep down, it's not just about fatigue or libido or sleep. It's about identity. About feeling like you've slipped into the background of your own life. And I know how heavy that can feel. But here's the truth, you are not broken. Your body hasn't given up on you. It's just been trying to speak to you in the only way it knows how, through low energy, mood swings, and physical changes. And the answer, the real answer, has been hiding in your kitchen all along. Because the foods you eat, or more importantly, the foods you don't, have a direct impact on three things that keep you vital as a man: your blood flow, your hormones, and your stamina. That's what I want to show you today. Not a diet. Not a gimmick. But three simple, everyday vegetables that, when used the right way and at the right time, can rebuild your energy, improve your performance, and reconnect you with the man you still are. One boosts blood flow like flipping a switch. One quietly raises testosterone, naturally. And the last one fuels your body all day without crashing your system. You're going to learn exactly what they are, how they work, and how to use them as part of a daily rhythm I call the Vegetable Protocol, a simple system designed to help men over 60 feel strong again, without shame, without side effects, and without waiting. So stay with me. Because once you see how it works, you won't just know what's possible, you'll feel it. And it all begins with your blood. Because when circulation fades, everything else follows. But with the right food, that power comes back faster than you think. Let me show you. It always starts the same way. You notice you're getting winded quicker than usual. A short walk leaves you needing to catch your breath. Climbing stairs takes more effort than it should. You brush it off, maybe it's just stress, poor sleep, or something you ate. But deep down, something feels off. Then come the quieter changes. You're not as sharp in conversation. You forget little things, names, appointments, even what you walked into the room for. You used to feel solid, like you were driving the day. Now it feels like you're just trying to get through it without falling apart. Most men chalk it up to getting older. That's what they've been told. But I'm going to tell you what I told a patient named Ray, 66 years old, retired Navy. He came in, sat across from me with arms crossed, and said, "Doc, I think I'm just wearing out." I looked him in the eye and said, "Ray, you're not wearing out. You're running on the wrong fuel. Because here's what's really going on, after 60, your body's needs change, but no one tells you how to change with it. The systems that used to hum quietly in the background, circulation, hormones, blood sugar regulation, start to slow down, not because they're broken, but because they're not being supported the way they used to be. And this is where most men get trapped. They try to eat less, thinking it'll help their weight. They avoid carbs altogether, hoping for more energy. They load up on caffeine just to stay awake by 2 p.m. And the whole time, they're unknowingly starving their body of the exact things it needs to stay sharp, strong, and steady. See, your body isn't lazy. It's just confused. And when you feed it the wrong way, at the wrong time, it sends the wrong signals. Blood vessels tighten. Hormones drop. Muscles get weaker. And your drive? That slips further into the background. But, and this is key, once you start feeding your body in a way that matches how it works now, not how it worked at 30, the difference is night and day. I've seen it happen in men who were convinced they were too far gone. Men who thought they were headed for medications and recliners. They changed how they ate, not by eating less, but by eating smarter, and within days, the lights came back on. Ray was one of them. I had him make just 3 changes. Not pills. Not supplements. 3 vegetables. 1 for circulation. 1 for testosterone. 1 for energy. But more importantly, I showed him when to eat them to align with his body's natural rhythm. A week later, he sent me a message. "Doc," it read, "I woke up this morning, stood up out of bed, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel old." That's the wake-up call most men need. You're not broken. You're just out of sync. And the first step back isn't a medication, it's a meal. Let's start with the very thing your body depends on to function from head to toe, circulation. And it begins with a vegetable most men overlook completely. When blood stops moving the way it should, everything else follows. You slow down. You feel colder, stiffer, weaker. You might not even notice it at first. But then you start skipping walks. You don't feel like reaching for your partner's hand. You sit more, move less, and wonder why things feel heavy, even when nothing's physically wrong. That's the hidden truth about circulation. It doesn't just affect your heart. It touches everything, your brain, your muscles, your mood, your performance in the bedroom. And yet, most men don't even think about it until there's a scare, chest pain, shortness of breath, or worse. But the signs come long before that. And one of the clearest is this: when you no longer feel like yourself, look first at your blood flow. That's what I told Gerald, 64 years old, used to build houses with his bare hands. He came into my office, eyes down, voice quiet. "Doc," he said, "I just don't feel like a man anymore. The fire's gone." It wasn't his heart. It wasn't his testosterone. It was his circulation. And more importantly, it was something we could fix, naturally. I told him about a vegetable he'd probably never thought twice about. Beets. Yep, those purple, earthy roots sitting next to the carrots at the store. Most men walk right past them. But here's what they don't know: beets are one of nature's strongest nitric oxide boosters. When you eat beets, your body converts their natural nitrates into nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes and opens up your blood vessels. That means better flow. More oxygen. Less pressure. And yes, better performance where it matters most. Gerald raised an eyebrow. Beets? I nodded. Half a cup a day. Or a small glass of beetroot juice in the morning. Nothing fancy. But give it a week. He gave it 2. When he walked back into my office, he looked 5 years younger. "Doc," he grinned, "I don't know what's in those things, but my wife said to thank you." This isn't a rare story. Dozens of studies back it up. Beets improve stamina, lower blood pressure, and enhance vascular health, especially in older men. Not with pills. Not with risks. Just real food, used with intention. Roast them, boil them, blend them with lemon and salt. However you like. But once they're in your system, something shifts. Your heart doesn't have to work so hard. Your muscles get the oxygen they've been craving. You walk lighter. You sleep deeper. You stand taller. And maybe the most powerful change, you start showing up for your life again. Not dragging yourself through the day, but leading it. That's what strong circulation gives you back: presence, energy, confidence. Now once blood is flowing again, the next step is to reignite what fuels your fire from within: your hormones. And there's a second vegetable that does this quietly, steadily, and naturally. Let's talk about it. Strong blood flow wakes your body up. But what keeps that fire burning, the steady, grounded power behind your focus, your drive, your sense of self, that comes from something deeper. And for men over 60, that quiet strength often fades long before anyone notices. I've had men sit across from me, still upright, still sharp, but you can see it in their eyes. Like something's dimmed. They're not sad. They're not sick. But they've lost the inner spark that once got them out of bed excited, confident, and ready to lead the day. That's what Martin was feeling. He was 68, retired engineer, sharp as a tack, always had a one-liner ready. But this time, his humor was missing. "Doc," he said, "I'm not depressed, but I'm just flat. I wake up tired. I don't feel like doing anything. I'm not me." That kind of honesty is rare. But it's also more common than most people think. And it usually points to one thing, a natural dip in testosterone. Now I'm not talking about bodybuilder levels. I'm not talking about injections or aggressive hormone therapy. I'm talking about the baseline strength every man needs to feel steady in his thoughts, solid in his emotions, and grounded in his decisions. Testosterone isn't about being aggressive, it's about being centered. The truth is, your levels don't crash overnight. They drop slowly, quietly. A little less energy here. A little less motivation there. Until one day, you're watching life instead of living it. But here's the good news, it's not irreversible. And it doesn't require needles or risky treatments. Sometimes, all it takes is a small shift on your plate. For Martin, that shift started with spinach. Yes, spinach. The same leafy green most of us pushed aside as kids is now one of your greatest allies. Why? Because spinach is loaded with magnesium, a mineral that helps free up bound testosterone, making it usable again. Without enough magnesium, your testosterone stays locked up. But when you eat magnesium-rich foods like spinach, your free testosterone levels can rise naturally. It gets better. Spinach is also packed with folate, which supports blood and nerve health. It contains plant-based nitrates that gently support circulation. And it's one of the few foods that directly nourish the prostate, a gland essential to male hormonal balance and intimacy. I told Martin to start small. 1 cup of cooked spinach a day. Stir it into eggs, sauté it with garlic and olive oil, toss it in a smoothie, whatever worked for him. 3 weeks later, he came back with his grin fully restored. "Doc," he said, "I've been sleeping better. My brain's not in a fog. I even caught myself flirting with my wife again. She thinks I'm up to something." He wasn't. He just felt alive again. And that's the quiet power of nourishing your hormones the right way. No drama. No instant fixes. Just a steady return to yourself. Once you've turned that fire back on, the next step is making sure it lasts all day, without crashes, fog, or frustration. And there's a third vegetable that makes that happen, one that fuels your body like premium gas in a classic engine. Let's dive in. Stoking the inner fire is only part of the picture. The real challenge, for most men over 60, is keeping that fire burning steady. No sudden burnout. No crash by 2 p.m. Just clean, lasting energy that lets you move through the day with purpose. But for many, that's exactly what's missing. You wake up with a little momentum, and then, by the time the sun's overhead, it's like someone pulled the plug. You're dragging. Your limbs feel heavier. Your thoughts scatter. And instead of finishing the day strong, you're just trying to coast through it without falling asleep on the couch. That's the kind of exhaustion Charles was feeling. He was 71, a retired firefighter, tough as they come. But when he sat down across from me, he looked beat. "Doc," he said, "I'm not tired because I'm lazy. I'm tired because no matter what I do, I can't get my energy back. I don't even trust myself to plan things anymore. I never know when I'm gonna crash. I knew what was going on before he finished the sentence. I've heard it hundreds of times. The body's blood sugar rhythm, which helps regulate energy, mood, and stamina, starts to shift after 60. And if you're not eating the right kind of fuel, your system goes up and down like a roller coaster. The fix wasn't more coffee. It wasn't cutting carbs entirely. It was giving his body a slow-burning source of energy that could last. That's where sweet potatoes come in. Forget what you've heard. Not all carbs are bad. And this one? It's one of the most powerful natural endurance foods on the planet. Sweet potatoes are packed with complex carbohydrates that release energy gradually, not all at once like sugar or bread. That means you get hours of fuel without the spike, and without the crash. But that's not all. They're loaded with potassium, which helps regulate muscle contraction, heart rhythm, and fluid balance. One medium sweet potato actually has more potassium than a banana, without the sugar spike. Add to that their high fiber, vitamin A, manganese, and antioxidants, and what you've got is real, usable power for a man's body. I had Charles roast half a medium sweet potato, with a little olive oil and sea salt. He added it to dinner 3 times a week. No diets. No gimmicks. Just real food. 2 weeks later, he called me. "Doc," he said, "I'm getting things done again. I haven't needed a nap in over a week." My wife asked if I was on something. I laughed. "You are," I told him. "You're on real fuel. That's what most men are missing. Not less food. Better food. Food that supports the body's rhythm, especially as it ages. Because when your energy holds steady, everything else works better, your focus, your mood, your relationships. Even how you show up for yourself. Now imagine what happens when all 3 of these vegetables, beets, spinach, and sweet potatoes, are combined with purpose, in the right order, at the right time. That's where everything changes. Let me show you how. Stoking the inner fire is only part of the picture. The real challenge, for most men over 60, is keeping that fire burning steady. No sudden burnout. No crash by 2 p.m. Just clean, lasting energy that lets you move through the day with purpose. But for many, that's exactly what's missing. You wake up with a little momentum, and then, by the time the sun's overhead, it's like someone pulled the plug. You're dragging. Your limbs feel heavier. Your thoughts scatter. And instead of finishing the day strong, you're just trying to coast through it without falling asleep on the couch. That's the kind of exhaustion Charles was feeling. He was 71, a retired firefighter, tough as they come. But when he sat down across from me, he looked beat. "Doc," he said, "I'm not tired because I'm lazy. I'm tired because no matter what I do, I can't get my energy back. I don't even trust myself to plan things anymore. I never know when I'm gonna crash." I knew what was going on before he finished the sentence. I've heard it hundreds of times. The body's blood sugar rhythm, which helps regulate energy, mood, and stamina, starts to shift after 60. And if you're not eating the right kind of fuel, your system goes up and down like a roller coaster. The fix wasn't more coffee. It wasn't cutting carbs entirely. It was giving his body a slow-burning source of energy that could last. That's where sweet potatoes come in. Forget what you've heard. Not all carbs are bad. And this one? It's one of the most powerful natural endurance foods on the planet. Sweet potatoes are packed with complex carbohydrates that release energy gradually, not all at once like sugar or bread. That means you get hours of fuel without the spike, and without the crash. But that's not all. They're loaded with potassium, which helps regulate muscle contraction, heart rhythm, and fluid balance. One medium sweet potato actually has more potassium than a banana, without the sugar spike. Add to that their high fiber, vitamin A, manganese, and antioxidants, and what you've got is real, usable power for a man's body. I had Charles roast 1/2 a medium sweet potato, with a little olive oil and sea salt. He added it to dinner 3 times a week. No diets. No gimmicks. Just real food. 2 weeks later, he called me. "Doc," he said, "I'm getting things done again. I haven't needed a nap in over a week." My wife asked if I was on something. I laughed. "You are," I told him. "You're on real fuel. That's what most men are missing. Not less food. Better food. Food that supports the body's rhythm, especially as it ages. Because when your energy holds steady, everything else works better, your focus, your mood, your relationships. Even how you show up for yourself. Now imagine what happens when all 3 of these vegetables, beets, spinach, and sweet potatoes, are combined with purpose, in the right order, at the right time. That's where everything changes. Let me show you how. What started as a simple routine, 3 vegetables, 3 meals, became something bigger for the men who stuck with it. Not just better sleep, not just more energy, but a quiet shift in how they carried themselves. You could see it in how they walked. You could hear it in how they spoke. You could feel it in the way they looked you in the eye again. Because when your body starts working right, something deeper happens, you begin to trust yourself again. One man I worked with, Thomas, 67, used to cancel social plans because he was afraid he wouldn't have the stamina to keep up. "I hated being the guy who had to sit out," he told me. After 2 weeks on the protocol, he called me and said, "I just helped my grandson build a treehouse. And I didn't need to lie down afterward. I felt like me again." Another man, Eduardo, 72, hadn't been intimate with his wife in almost a year, not out of lack of love, but because he didn't feel confident in his own body anymore. When he came back after a month, he didn't need to say much. His face said everything. "We danced last night," he told me. "Not because we planned to. Because I felt like I could." And then there was Michael, 69, who used to struggle just getting out of bed. He said something that stuck with me. "It wasn't just my body that was tired. It was my hope. I thought this was just how life would feel from now on, slow, stiff, and gray. But now, it's like color came back. That's what real change looks like. Not six-pack abs. Not some extreme transformation. Just a steady, reliable return of strength and presence, and from that, confidence. And here's the thing, confidence isn't loud. It doesn't need to show off. For a man over 60, confidence is the ability to say yes to a walk. To reach for your partner's hand. To schedule the trip you've been putting off. It's the quiet belief that your body won't betray you halfway through the day. And it all starts with rhythm. With real food. With consistency over complexity. That's why I always remind my patients, this isn't a temporary fix. It's not a challenge or a 30-day trial. It's a way back to the version of yourself that never actually left, he just needed the right support to come back online. And if you've made it this far, then I believe that part of you is already waking up. He's already stirring. The man who moved with purpose. Who looked in the mirror and recognized the fire in his own eyes. That fire isn't gone. It's waiting. Now let me show you what happens when you finally give yourself permission to feel strong again, without shame, without shortcuts, and without waiting for someone else to fix it for you. That fire inside you, it's not gone. It didn't disappear. It got buried under years of routines that no longer serve the man you are now. That's not your fault. Life doesn't come with a manual for what to do when the old tricks stop working. But here's what I've learned after working with thousands of men, you're never too old to feel strong again. You're just out of rhythm. I say that not as a theory, but as something I've seen unfold, over and over again, in real lives. Men who thought their best years were behind them, who were ready to settle for low energy, low drive, and quiet resignation. Men who believed the lie that slowing down was the same thing as fading away. But once they started feeding their body with intention, not restriction, not punishment, just rhythm, everything shifted. Not overnight, but predictably. Like a tide coming back in. You don't have to chase youth. You don't need to be who you were at 25. You just need to reconnect with the part of you that still knows how to lead, how to love, how to move through life with steady confidence. That part isn't gone. It's just waiting for you to show up again, with the right tools. Half a cup of beets in the morning. 1 cup of spinach at lunch. Half a sweet potato with dinner. It may sound too simple, but I promise, simple works when it's aligned with your biology. That's what this whole protocol is about. Not perfection. Not control. But momentum. Because every time you choose food that supports your strength, you're sending a message to your body. I'm not done. I'm still in this. And that message? Your body hears it. It starts repairing. Rebalancing. Rebuilding. Not just muscle, not just hormones, but hope. If no one said this to you recently, let me be the one. You're not broken. You're not too far gone. And you sure as hell aren't too old. You're one rhythm away from feeling like yourself again. So here's my invitation to you. Start today. Not next week. Not when it's convenient. Today. With what's on your plate, with what's in your fridge. One small step in the direction of strength. Because this isn't just about food. It's about freedom. Freedom to move without pain. Freedom to look forward to your day. Freedom to feel connected again, to yourself, to your partner, to the life you still have left to live. You've got more in you. And I'll be here, every step of the way, reminding you of what's still possible. If this message stirred something in you, even just a small flicker, hold on to that. Because that flicker, it's yours. And it's real. You don't need to rush. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin, with one meal, one moment, one quiet decision to take your strength back, not for anyone else, but for you. And if you found value in this journey, if it reminded you that you're still in the game, still capable of more than you've been told, I'd love for you to help us keep this mission going. Every video we make is crafted to support men like you. To bring back clarity, vitality, and dignity, without noise, pressure, or shame. If you'd like to support this work, even a small donation helps us reach the next man who needs to hear this. Let's keep going, together. One plate. One habit. One grounded, powerful day at a time. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.